Hello, this is Ray from Eastern Oregon. Can
Ray?
you hear me okay?
Yeah, Ray from Eastern Oregon. What's on your mind?
Well, I have been very disturbed by what's going on in Israel and Gaza. Basically, I'm a lifelong atheist. I haven't heard anybody talk about how an atheist should view this situation. As someone that doesn't believe there's a God, there can't be a chosen people or a chosen...
You got to just speak a little bit closer to the phone. I mean, I think an atheist should view this in the same way anybody else does, because God has nothing to do with this.
Yeah. It's a fallacy that it's a religious conflict. I'll say this, and your question is valid, but I think that even framing it within a religious context is actually serving the Zionist propaganda that's enabled this genocide, which is that it's just a clash between two peoples and it's as ancient as anything, when in fact we know that this began with the British colonization of the region, and then eventually the formation of the State of Israel, partitioned by the United Nations in 1948. It's not viewing it as religious in nature feeds into what they're trying to do, which is both sides this, as opposed to the very clear history of domination from a power backed by the UK, the United States, Germany, other Western forces.
Well, my problem is with religion to begin with, because it seems to me, if you look back through history, that religion has always been a tool of the wealthy and powerful to oppress and...
Yeah, I mean, look, I tend to be, you know, pretty skeptical of religion, broadly speaking, too. But the point is that even, you know, talking about this in religious terms is irrelevant. And it really is obscuring what the dynamic is here. This is about people who are denied basic human freedoms. And the religious differences here, I mean, you can talk about religion in the sense that, like, Hamas is a different movement and player than, let's say, Fatah, and because they came out of the Muslim Brotherhood. But these are just like sociological realities and different ideologies that are playing out. The fundamental problem here is not that Israelis are, you know, believe in, you know, don't believe in Muhammad as a prophet, and Muslims do. That's not the issue here. That is what has been, you know, used as a justification in many points, but that's not what's really going on. That's the window dressing. But appreciate the call.
Isn't the whole idea of Israel based on the idea that God blessed Abraham and promised him this land and all that?
I mean, I think there are definitely some Jews who believe that, but that's not what created the founding of Israel in 1948.
A lot of the original, like, founding fathers of Israel were like atheist labor Zionists.
And the most, you know, there's a bunch of very religious Jews who don't believe that the state of Israel should exist without the second coming of the Messiah. So, you know, I think, like, you can find different people who will cite different things, but that's not fundamental to the conflict.
And let me just add this too. There are other fascist myths that are not religious that produce the same effect. We're seeing a version of it in what Putin has said about how Ukraine is really just greater Russia, right? That's not necessarily religious in its construction, but it's a myth of how this is really our land and we will conquer it because of these kind of mystical reasons that are associated with an imagined past. That is fascism. And so, like, Religion, though, to your point, that's an easy thing to exploit for that very purpose. So you'll see that frequently. I mean, what manifests destiny as well in terms of our colonization, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's the first order problem that we should be dealing with here.
Appreciate the call.
Okay.
The Desmond Tutu told us on the old Majority Report. He came in, actually. I think he was in studio. I can't remember now. But I do remember him specifically saying, because both Janine and I were fairly skeptical of religion. I mean, I practice Judaism, Reform Judaism, but I have a very healthy dose of skepticism towards, religions and the existence of God, frankly. But with all that said, he said, which I thought was it's obviously not unique to religion, but religion's been around for a long time and it's definitely been used in various ways. But he said it's like a knife. You can use it to spread butter, or you could use it to stab people. And I don't know. Probably more often than not. I don't think it's unconscionable. There's a little more stabby. But, I mean, there's certainly been some things that have been positive from religion. I'm not quite convinced that those positive things wouldn't have happened outside of the existence of religion. And I'm not quite convinced that, a lot of that stabbing wouldn't have happened either. Although, it's hard to motivate people sometimes to inflict harm on other people. I think it's harder to motivate people to inflict harm than it is to motivate people to do good. And so when you create these constructs, I think they serve a purpose. And, there's been, I think race and racism is also deployed in a similar way.
Yeah, I think the most operative one is nationalism, basically throughout. And there's a great, speaking of making people kill somebody, Orwell has a great quote in one of his articles during the Blitz on London by the Nazis. As I sit here now, people will fly bombs and drop them onto civilian areas and then go home and sleep well at night. And what allows them to do that is they're doing it for their nation.
Right. Right. Let's see. Oh, I think we are out of time on the phone call portion of our program, ladies and gentlemen.
Whoa.
Apologies for that. Let's see. A spoon will spread softened butter just fine. A knife does not spread cold butter well. Okay, he may be taking that a little bit too far.
Well, think of it as a steak knife, right? A steak knife is better for stabbing and it doesn't spread butter that well, but it can still get the job done. It will just be jagged and mess up the butter sometimes.
Right, if you melt the butter, then you don't even need to spread it. You just pour it.
Yeah, and with margarine, use a katana.
Oh. How do you melt butter? Not in the microwave. Better not. Doesn't come out right.
I barely use.
I don't know what I'm talking about. We should just wrap up this conversation.
Dizzle McFizzle. Pay her, Sam. Emma's Day, Wednesday, hump day money. Day left is best. I'm not sure I follow that. To Israel, the Palestinians are mortar for the foundation of their nation. They're to be killed, and Israel's ethno-state replaced them. Truly monstrous.